Heavenly sounds, heavenly movements, heavenly crowns. By leaps and bounds, we're taking the mounts. We're doing it all for you. We're living our lives for you. Come do what you will do. Yeah, let your fire fall.
I'm obsessed. I am obsessed.
Welcome to Rule and Reign. We are back with our guest, Esther Brunat. This is part 2 of, let me make sure I say it right. To be or not to be prepared is the question. So we're going to continue our conversation on just being prepared for life, for opportunities, for the dream that you have. And, you know, even as you was like obsessed, like with your crazy comments in regards to the intro, but even when I think of that, Esther, I had those lyrics way before like we started putting this thing together. Like one night, just jamming to some music, got a download, I wrote it out, and I was like, ooh, fire.
Ooh.
Yes. And then when this started, you know, coming to life and, you know, putting it together and birthing out a new thing. And, you know, one of the team members was like, hey, so, you know, what's our intro looking like? I was like, I think I have something.
Listen.
You know, being prepared, you know, and letting God do his perfect work. So anyway, welcome to Rule and Reign. We're so glad that you're here. If you're joining us for the first time, we're all about encouraging one another, empowering one another, elevating one another for us to be the sons and daughters of God that he's called us to be, that we will rule and reign in the land of the living through our gifts, through our talents, through the downloads that God gives us, through the dreams that he has given us. So, continuing on from our conversation in the throne room with Esther Brunat, who is a Broward County educator.
Yes.
She loves her high school students.
I do.
And she's made a huge difference, not just with the students, but also with the teachers, with everything that God has blessed her with, her ideas, her strategies and concepts to provide resources for teachers, for them to teach their kids with the best different styles of teaching and resources and information of just how to educate children on their level, you know, that they can receive the information and then go apply it in their lives. So it's been great. We left off transitioning from career, of being prepared for career, being prepared for side hustles within a career that could then become the career, to moving into relationships. So we left off talking about or entering into a conversation about being prepared for marriage. So if you haven't seen the first episode, please go watch it and then come back and watch this. You need to get to know Esther.
Yeah, you need the background knowledge to see.
Yeah, to get all this goodness. She's an awesome person and she's impacting the world. She is impacting her sphere of influence, which is what we're all supposed to be doing. So we're being inspired, we're being encouraged, we're being empowered to elevate ourselves. Come on, somebody.
Yes.
To elevate us. So now let's talk about your love life.
Oh gosh.
Let's do that, darling, because you're doing great in your career. You're striving, you're thriving, you're doing awesome, and you're single. You know, you're in your 30s, you're beautiful, you know, you're out here doing the most. We see you. And you're single. So let's talk about living life as a single person, as a believer, as someone pursuing dreams and it's coming to pass, and you're becoming who the Lord has called you to be, as a queen, his child, his favored, his beloved.
Come on.
We'll go there. And in that, yes, you're single. What does that life look like? And then let's transition to talk about in preparation for marriage, for the king to come into your life. So talk to us about singlehood.
Singlehood, so funny. I think you just go through different seasons of it, right?
Okay.
In my head, I thought I'd be married by 22.
For sure. Wow.
Yeah,
Why
I know,
so
right?
early? That's scary.
I don't know. I feel like it was kind of like part of the culture, like that I grew up in, like in the youth group. Like it was just like kind of common. Like you got married like in your early 20s, right after college.
That's fast.
You know, I mean, and a bunch of my friends did get married right
That's
after.
fast.
You know?
I know what I was like at 22. That wouldn't have been a good look. But anyway.
So, yeah, I thought I was going to be married. So you go through that. Okay. Dang, it didn't happen when I thought it would happen. But I also, like, I had moved overseas for a few years, you know, and then came back. So then when I came back, I was like, for sure, I'm back now. Now it's going to happen. And then, it didn't happen. But I've always been very much, I'm going to live my life, you know, and wasn't like sitting around waiting for that, but always desired it. I think now that I'm comfortably in my 30s,
You just entered.
I know. I think like I'm really, really at a point now where I've come, like I'm not heartbroken or that's not the right word. I'm not desperate, and I'm not like waiting around like that's the only thing that could bring value to my life.
Okay.
I've become very secure in the fact that I'm a whole person, that I don't need a guy to add value to me or whatever, but I do see the value in having a mate, right? And right now in my life, I can be really honest with the fact that, man, like I would really like to start a family right now. I would really like to find my hubby and let's build something together, like let's start this journey. Let's make our memories and let's make disciples. And that might look like having children, but that also might look like how we use our home, how we serve our church, how we, and I'm really excited to do that together with somebody, and like feeling like, where you at?
So let's backtrack a bit.
Okay.
So, like you said, 22, you thought that was it.
Yeah.
This is about 10 years later, and now you're comfortable. You're still, patiently waiting.
Right.
But you're more comfortable in your skin, comfortable in who you are.
Yeah.
So over those 10 years of desiring, wanting, talk about that experience. Like, what were your low points? What were your high points of going through a season of singlehood, and how that has prepared you to be who you are today, that you are comfortable in your skin.
Right. So you always make a list, right? Like, I want this in a guy, and I want this in a guy, and I want this in a guy. So my beginning...
Is that wrong?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I have a list.
Yeah, I don't think so either. But I do think, so the pitfall that I fell into was I was looking at my list, and it was a bunch of stuff that I was bad at.
Oh.
Right? Like, so I was like making a list of things, and I was like, well, I don't want to do this, so I want the person to be like this. I don't want to like be like,
wow.
Yes. So when I looked at it like with sober mind, right? I was like, then you need to work on these things for yourself. So like one of those things
Take the log out your own eye.
Come on.
So you can help others.
Absolutely. So one of those things was like, I want him to be good with money.
Yeah.
But and I still want that, absolutely. But it was because I was like, well, I'm not good, so he has to be good. Like what? What is that logic? So I definitely went through that kind of a season. I definitely went through a season of like what am I doing? Who am I on my own? So I definitely think that you also need to come to a place where you are confident in who you are. You know what your worth is with or without somebody. And then there was another phase of it that because I feel like there's almost a little, and I think we're getting out of this in the church, capital C church, where there's this thing that we almost tell people that it's not okay to want to desire marriage. Like, in the sense that if somebody's like, you need to get married, or I want to get married, people answer them with, love the Lord. If you just really love the Lord and focus on the Lord, this would not be an issue for you. What? Like, and so I think what I realized, I was like, if I said I wanted a house, nobody looks at me and says, you love the Lord. Focus on him. Nobody says that, you know?
No, they don't.
And I can even think of, and I'm not saying these two things are equal, right? But I look at the story of Hannah, and she was wanting a son, right? I'm not saying that.
That's 1 Samuel, by the way. That's the address.
Come on.
Okay.
I'm not saying that they're exactly the same, like being stuck in your singleness and not being able to have a child. But nobody ever says to a woman who longs for a child, just love the Lord. Focus on him.
But then the Lord says,
like, he's trying to show us something through everything, you know? And Hannah, she experiences, like, in those first couple of verses, she talks about how people looked at her like she was crazy. Yeah. She talks about how people how she was begging and pleading to the Lord. She talks about how her husband is like, am I not enough for you?
Like, no.
I never said that.
Oh my
I just said I wanted a son.
Pride.
So I just look at those things. So there was definitely a coming to grips with, I am perfectly great, and the Lord has given me value, just as who she is, right? But also being okay with saying, Lord, I do want a husband. Lord, I do want to get married. That's a good and right thing. The Lord created marriage. There's nothing about me that's less than because I've decided to admit that. You know, there's nothing about me that's less than, like, my relationship with the Lord is just as strong. You know, there's no deficiency just because I'm trying to get married, you know? So those are definitely several stages. And that's the one now that I'm in. Like, there's no deficiency about me. It doesn't make me less of a woman. It doesn't make me less of a Christian to even heavily desire that. I think when that desire starts to become your identity or lack of identity,
there's an issue.
Exactly. When that desire starts to be your only motivating factor, right?
You've lost focus.
Exactly. I think that's where we draw the line and make the difference.
Yeah, we have to be careful of the misalignment.
Come on.
That the gift becomes the focus than the giver of the gift.
Yes.
Because when he's the focus, he's like, whatever you want, whatever you need, I got you.
Yeah.
A man is it that you want? A man I shall give you. That's nothing for me, thus says the Lord.
Yeah.
So yeah, just knowing who you are, that's key. Knowing who you are and your values, and just positioning your heart in the right place.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, Esther, you sound very well-rounded, darling.
It's been a lot of years.
You sound very well-rounded when it comes down to this conversation of marriage, conversation of singlehood, and we're gonna dive into preparing for that. But even in the singlehood and going through the season of that to get into where you are today, how? Because it's not necessarily that some, you know, their focus is not on God. They love God, and you're saying, yes, love God. But how can we help those who there's some deficiencies within self because they don't know who they are? What would you say to that person? How could we guide or encourage that person who doesn't see themselves the way that God sees them? What things do they need to do? What processes, conversations, questions need to, that come to mind that you can forward on, deposit into them that they can ponder to shift and change their world, to get to a place of wholeness and fullness in the Lord, that they're open.
Yeah.
In the right way.
In the right way. I think becoming an expert in your gifts. So I say that to say the Lord has placed so many different things in each and every one of us, right? And the more I notice how the Lord has crafted me, the more I notice how he's put things in me that need to be out in the world, the more confident I am in how he created me and who I am, walking in my purpose, get that confidence that everybody, says is the most attractive thing about a person. I think those are definitely the things that you want to build and focus on, because there's some, at least for me, the way that the Lord has wired Esther Brunat, the more I see how careful God was with the way that he crafted me, the more I see the intentionality behind how he crafted me, the more in love I fall with the Lord, because he's not doing anything on accident. No. He's really pursuing us. He's really speaking each and every one of our love languages. He's really being like a suitor. And I just think when I look back at seasons, and I'm in a season right now where the Lord is being so particular with what he's showing me, and it's so sweet that I'm like, man, like in seasons where I'm not acutely hearing his voice that well, I'm like, I've been missing out. So I definitely think that's one of them. And then two of them is, I definitely think I'm just speaking to women. I don't know how y'all fashion, that's your business, but for women, I just know it's so important.
We love you too. We love you.
Y'all can be here, y'all can hang, that's cool.
I can't even say anything.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Finish your comment.
Just think it's so important that girls have a good girl gang.
Absolutely. Necessary.
Yes. And
necessary.
Because those rich, deep relationships, I think sometimes we think that the only way that the wells of our hearts can be fulfilled is in a relationship with a man. And there's so many parts of my heart that get filled every time you and I are up till 2:00 in the morning in my driveway. Just talking about life and the Lord and whatever.
Moments, my issues.
I just think there's so much value in that, and being loved by someone, learning to love someone that that you just can't even replicate. I mean, I have not yet been married, but I also I feel pretty confident that even when I do get married, like my girl gang that love is different than what I'll be experiencing with that matrimonial love, and I'll still desire and need that, so I think those two things for me are huge. Like when on days and weeks when I'm like, this single life is for the birds.
And they're not single. They be all outside my window having a moment.
Listen, I be seeing the ducks during. Come on.
Every season, they coming through.
Yeah, so
they go away and come back 5 deep.
Yeah, I'm like, where do these babies come from? So you just got to think about those. When I feel those deficiencies in my heart, I know that they can be filled through what the Lord is doing in my life and what the Lord wants to do in my life through other people. Okay,
so in preparation for the King, who he's sending for you, Queen Esther, in this season, now in a whole place, right mind, right alignment with the Lord, what is it looking like now, this pursuit for marriage, this wait for marriage? You know, I'm thinking of Ruth right now.
Right,
you know,
right,
she laid
right.
down at Boaz's feet.
She
like,
really did.
here I am. Do you see me?
She made herself presentable. She
She
positioned
did.
herself to be seen. And
Positioned. But Esther, oh my gosh, we just unpacked something. Put my phone down.
Put your phone down.
Hold on.
I feel like we about to go somewhere.
We about to go somewhere. Because guess what? As much as Ruth positioned herself, right? In right place, right time, to be at the feet of Boaz, there was a little bit before it. You know, if we just back up a little bit, she was in the fields.
Yeah.
You know, gleaning the little leftovers.
Yep.
Where she was able to be seen, where he noticed her and could ask some questions and inquire.
Exactly.
You know, and even in that, she was presentable. She was, she was looking good in her garments. You know, while she was gleaning, she didn't bend over too far. She dipped. You know, very ladylike. And he's like, okay.
And the people who had seen her, who he was inquiring to, only had good things to say about her.
Ooh, attitude is everything. Anyway,
y'all go read your Bible.
For real. For real. It's meaty. It is so good. So let's even back up a little bit from there. Because the only reason she was in the field is because she was schooled to go to that field. She was taught. She was given information. She was fashioned, shaped, and ready for this encounter. Because she had a friend, a girl gang.
Come on.
It's really, it was her mother-in-law.
Yes.
But the previous guy, he passed away. So this wasn't messy business.
Exactly.
This was no messy business. He had passed away. But the mother-in-law schooled her as to, okay, we're now in a new place. This is our kinsman. This is a relative of ours who owns this huge field. Let me show you how to get his attention. Let me show you how to tie your bonnet right. You know,
if I was this is whose attention I would be trying to get.
Yeah, like this is
she
the
ain't sending
one.
to just nobody's field.
No, she's sending her to the right field. This is the field that you need. Wear your garments like this. Throw your scarf around your neck just a little bit, and just show a little bit of your collarbone. Just a little bit of your collarbone. You know, when you're picking up, the grains, pick it up with your left hand and lay it on your right. It is the other way. With your left hand. She just gave her some tools and little information that she could stand out, that she could look different, to position her to the moment where she was presentable. So yeah, girl gang is everything.
Absolutely.
Everything, listening to those who have your best interests at heart to shape you, guide you, and help you along the journey to get to a place that you're positioned, presentable, and ready before the one.
Come on.
So let's talk about that for you, darling.
Okay, this is
looking
so
like? Deep.
It is so deep because what's a little bit even more unique about my story is that I've never dated anybody ever.
Let's talk about that.
Ever. Okay, so and I don't regret that. I think when I was in high school, I was like, I'm not gonna mess around with any boys because it wasn't looking good for nobody else who was messing around in high school. So I was like, not gonna happen. So then I got to college and I was a little more open to it. But what I'm finding now that I'm 31 years old is that I make this joke that everybody took a class in high school that teaches you how to flirt and teaches you how to catch signals from guys. I didn't take that class. That was I don't know where everybody signed up for this course, but Esther didn't sign up for this course. So my friends will be in the mall or something like that, and they'll be like, Esther, that guy was trying to holler at you. And I was like, he was just doing his job. So I'm realizing.
He was giving you some extra attention.
Right.
Probably asking you the size of your shoes before you even asked about a pair of shoes.
Just stuff like that.
Okay.
Or a waiter will be extra paying attention to me at a restaurant but I'm just minding my business. Okay? So I literally never catch hints. So that's number one. Number two is because I never catch hints, I never give hints. So if a guy is interested in me and he's talking to me, right? I don't know. Number one, I'm not catching his drift, so I'm not giving the signals that I should be giving to tell him
to keep going.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so no guy ever keeps going.
He feels like it's a dead end.
So no guy ever keeps going. I was like, wait a minute. So because I've come to this point where I'm like, Lord, I would really like a husband And I'm very logical. I'm a math teacher, right? I realize that what I have been doing has not been working. So I'm trying to try new things, right? And those new things are me talking to my friends openly, like, hey guys, what do you think I should be doing in this circumstance? Like, what should my role be here? If I'm interested in a guy, what should I be doing? What should I be saying? You know? And I was having a conversation with one of my older friends' husbands, and he was like, so you don't ever catch it when a guy is, and I was like, no. And he was like, I've seen guys check you out. And I was like, no. Like, I'm really like, no, there's no way. Like,
and he caught it.
Yeah.
And you didn't catch it.
I'm at a loss for words.
Well, I got a few things to say. I just want to clarify something though, because you said about, you going to your friends and saying, hey, give me some tools.
Yeah. And also telling them if they want to set me up, they can set me up.
We'll be mindful of that too, because this is where I was going with that, because there's a caution sign here.
Absolutely.
There's a caution sign here. Pay attention to how your friends are living their lives. Because if you want your life to look like theirs and theirs don't look, if you don't want your life to look like theirs because their life looks messy, that's not the one to take advice from. You want to take advice from those who are living a life that you look at and you be like, yes, I could work with that. I can do that.
Exactly.
If it's a couple, they've been together for a long period of time. They've gone through some things together. They've gone through ups, they've gone through downs. They're 10, 15, 20, 25 years in. Those are some people that you can ask some really deep questions about marriage, preparation for marriage, being in marriage, how to keep the right mindset, just those things, those deeper things. And then even with your friends who might still be in, single and such, absolutely. But even in their singlehood, are they bitter? Are they just looking for men? Is it all about,
are they thirsty?
Just yes, just parched, just dry, it's a problem.
Yeah.
We have to be very careful these days who you're taking information from, because absolutely. What you put in comes out. So if you put it in garbage is going to come out. And listen, we're not about garbage on this station, darlings, on this channel. We're all about royalty. We're all about knowing who you are, that you are a treasure. In God's eyes, he sees you as treasure. The word says that you are a royal diadem in his eye. A royal diadem, a crown, just beautiful. Just marvelous and pretty. He just wants to do a great work with you. Amen. You have to see yourself that way. Hey. So you don't want to let in no foolishness, no garbage, we're not with it.
Nope.
We're about living our lives at a standard that is high. We believe for greater, we believe for more. You want to have a great marriage? Well, guess what? You're going to have to invest in yourself to have a great marriage.
Yes.
If you want to do well in your singlehood, you're going to have to invest in yourself to enjoy your singlehood. That even someone would even be interested in spending time with you because you just look great in your singlehood.
Yeah.
You ain't over there bitter, over there miserable. You ain't doing too much, because sometimes people be doing too much. The clothes is too much, your makeup too much, your hair too much. Everything's just
too much.
Pull back.
Yeah.
Woosah.
I always say, if you're trying to be rich, you can't take money advice from a poor person.
So true.
It's just, that's the facts.
Yeah.
So you that's been one of the things, is like, as I'm taking advice, I'm like, do I like your marriage? I will listen to you.
Yeah.
If I don't like your marriage,
I'm sorry. Thank you so much.
I appreciate the advice.
Yeah. God bless you. Matter of fact, can I pray for you?
So I definitely think in preparation, that's what I'm trying to do now. So, and then I will also, on the other hand, say there's a weird dynamic, I feel like, if a girl has it quote unquote together. So I think one of my...
Wait, what?
I said, I think there's a weird dynamic when a girl has it quote unquote together.
Oh, have it together. Oh, yeah. I was like, what?
What you thought I said?
I don't know. It didn't make sense. That's why I had to be like, what?
Gotcha. Yeah, so when a girl, quote unquote, has it together, she look like she don't need no man, right? So the guy might look at her and be like, well, she don't got no need for me, so let me go.
Where does that come from? Like,
I'm not sure.
I don't understand.
You know, so I think, well, I mean, I think maybe guys want to feel needed, or whatever. I don't know. I'm not a guy. Y'all can, in the comments, please explain.
Yes. Help us to understand.
So I think maybe sometimes I also, even if a guy did want to approach me, he's probably like, well, she don't look like she need no man, you know? And that's frustrating because I might not need you to pay my bills, but you can pay them. I need you to.
My mind was somewhere else, but okay, I hear you.
You know,
yes,
so that's number one. But also, like, I think people don't really talk about, like, just because I am walking around put together, and I'm holding it together myself.
Yes.
That doesn't mean that I wouldn't like somebody to share my burden with. That doesn't mean that I wouldn't like to rely on your strength sometimes. You know?
But what is it with the need part? Like, you know, this
That
may be a
word,
personal.
yeah.
This may be a personal thing. This might be an Ellaina thing. You know, it could be. I don't know. But why is it that there has to be a need? Like, why not a desire, just a want? Like, we're supposed to have ourselves together. We're supposed to.
Dudes like to be the hero. Like they like to feel like they're
I'm sorry, but this is not a Captain America movie. This is not Iron Man. This is not Black Panther. So it ain't none of that. This is real life, okay? And it's not. I think that what is this damsel in distress business? What do you mean? Like, I'm gonna pick it up myself. I got it. Or if I don't got it, can you help me, please?
Right.
Or it might even be, hey babe, let me handle that for you. Okay.
I know.
No
Listen,
problem.
I will be a putty in your hands if you want to do that all day long. Like, acts of service is my love language
Come
too.
on, somebody, number one.
Yeah. So I'm
Help me.
Yeah, I don't look like from the outside that I'm like, you know, because I will do it on my own if I need to. Like, I have been, you know, but
Because it's not a need.
yeah.
But it doesn't mean that we don't want help.
You want to come through and serve me like Christ served the church?
Yes, come through, darling. Come through.
You got whatever you want.
After the ring.
Right, absolutely.
Yeah. Let's clarify. People want a lot of things. You know, you gotta check out people's values and stuff like that. So okay, that was good. That was good. I just think we need to work on that need piece. There is a want, but I do truly believe that each one of us, individual, with female, male, that we should be working on ourselves in regards to who we are, our identity, unpacking that, our gifts, our talents, unpacking that, learning more about ourselves, because we can be more beneficial in a relationship when you know who you are, you know yourself, and in that, how your what's your impact, what's your fingerprint on the world, you know, and making sure that everything that God has put inside you to do is coming out of you. You're utilizing your gifts, you're growing in your talents. There's all of these things that the compatible one, the king, whoever he is, she is, the queen, that it just comes together. And because you know who you are and you're flowing in all of these areas, you just come together like a hand in a glove. It's just good.
Right. And I think, like when we talk about preparation too, I've personally never wanted to be a burden to whoever wants to start doing life with me. I always said to myself, like, when my husband marries me, like I want him to feel like dang, I just hit the jackpot for so many reasons, like not just character wise, but like I came in financially ready for you too, like debt free, money in the bank, like, you know, I wanted to come in with skill sets that would help build a family, you know. I wanted to come in being able to help you with what you got going on, and you also help me with what I got going on, like, and we're forming this partnership that we would be so much stronger together than if we were separate, you know. So I definitely always thought that too, like I want to come in being like total asset, like no setbacks, just adding value.
You're gonna have setbacks, then?
Absolutely, everybody always
okay,
has
just
setbacks.
wanted to help you out there, you know.
Right. That's very true. I'm a little arrogant, so I'm just gonna be honest.
I'm done. I wouldn't have said that on camera, but okay. But what I do want to say is, as much as we are expressing the importance of being an asset, you know, having your ducks in a row and such like that, it may not be that you'll have all of your ducks in a row. That, you know, you might be working on one area of your life, your character and such, but your finances are not that great, and you meet the one.
Yeah.
That's great. So it's not that you're going to have everything together and then he appears. No, God has us all on a journey of life, and it looks different for all of us. But we should be striving to be the best you, the best us, the best person that we can be in the world to others. And in that, God will just bless our environment. He will just bless our lives. But we want to make sure that we're doing our best. So in that, being our best self, our best self in a time, because we're transitioning.
Okay.
In a time,
I sensed it.
that we're in today, Corona, social injustice, the church, you know, the world. It's just a total upheaval in the globe. Like the whole earth is going through. You can say the pandemic, but it's just crazy. Like,
the whole world.
We've never gone through anything like this before. We're in uncharted waters, Esther. In being in uncharted territory with all these things that you have going on in your life, with your career, with your side hustles, with your singlehood, with, you know, your love life that will soon come into fruition, especially through this video and just seeing your beautiful self. In this season of COVID and social injustice, how is this impacting you? And how do you feel that you have been prepared or unprepared for this season that we're in?
I'm definitely unprepared. That's a absolute fact with the injustices that are happening in the world right now, through that have just been exposed on another level with us all being stuck in our houses. It's just been eye-opening to see the church not being ready, like as a whole, like capital C church, and me not being ready in the sense that wanting to be able to communicate what's happening, wanting to be able to provide solutions, or like how the church could adequately be coming to the rescue. It's been hard because we've never wanted to address the issue head on up until this point. And now that we want to, the issue is so deep seated that I don't even know where to go or where to start, or everything that we need to uproot to bring, you know, us back to, or not even back to, just bring us to a place of health in that regard. So I think that for sure has been really hard for me. I wish I read more. I wish I listened more. Knew more. I wish I could literally sit at Jesus's feet and ask him what should we be doing right now? Where did we go wrong? And where do we go now? I really wish that, and I can. I was like, and I can. It's just I feel sad because I'm late. That I have to be reactive and not proactive.
Right.
So the injustice thing.
But being active is key.
Right.
Right. Okay, we were not able to be proactive, so what we would say we're reactive. But even in that, even to shift the word, but we want to respond.
Yeah.
We want to respond now. And as an educator, that's your vein,
Absolutely.
that's your gifting. What would be the thing for you for all who are watching?
Mm-hmm.
The thing that you would want them to educate themselves on. Maybe you don't know it all as yet, but what are some things in regards to this season that we're in? If you want to touch on Corona for a bit, and we want to touch on social justice, if you just all together, but what are just some things as an educator that you think would be necessary for us at this time?
I'll touch on Corona just really quickly. We are in a time where there's not a lot socially going on if you don't want it to be going on, right? Like, so we're all stuck in our houses. And some of us have had way more time than we have ever had in our lives. And I think at the beginning of all of the shutdown, I read something that said, if the shutdown ended tomorrow, would you be okay with what you've accomplished? That changed the game for me. I was like, I'm making a list, I'm checking it twice, and we gonna get some stuff done, right? So that's been, so in terms of being prepared that way, really great. In terms of the church and education is so huge, especially in this issue. So for me, I always want to,
in the issue of Corona.
Sorry now, and I'm in injustice now. Sorry,
okay.
I shifted. So in the issue of injustice, definitions, like what are the terms, and then what might they look like in your life, right? So for me, like the biggest thing is people unpacking their bias.
Yes. That's good.
Because we all have bias. And we don't even notice how that bias is informing our decisions and our actions, right? But I can't just say, today I recognize that I have some bias towards Black people, right? Like if they're in the restaurant, I feel like they're going to be loud. That might just be one bias. We are going to be loud. Anyway, that's true. I'm going to be loud. So that's another thing, not lumping all Black people into one collective thing, that we all have our separate identities. Just unpacking your bias and practicing empathy are things that people should be doing daily. Daily, because we've lived how many ever hundreds of years without doing that, and without thinking about the perspective of the underdog, whether the underdog be Black people in the American society, whether the underdog be somebody who's disabled in society, where no one's thinking about them, whether that is an immigrant, not being native to a society, whatever the underdog is, if we're not actively practicing empathy and unpacking my bias and thinking about how the decisions and the systems that I have laid in my life and this country has been laid affects those people. Like, we can't just live our lives anymore being okay with something because it's okay for me.
In our own world.
Right. We have to be consciously thinking about other people and how this system is affecting other people, because now we're realizing there's so many laws, there's so many systems that have been put in place that haven't been created for everybody to thrive. And the church has done some of that too. And if I'm not willing to if we're not willing to unpack that and repent for it and make it right, I think people think, oh, that was in the past and I want to be better. But if those things are still having implications on people of the present, then there needs to be reconciliation for that. There needs to be, restoration. Rewords are not the thing, because we've never been.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, there really is.
Yeah, I can't find other words
to explain, to express. Because we were never there.
Right, we were never there. We can't go back. So that, for me, that's it, man. Like, constantly, I mean, even as a Black person, like, I'm constantly taking in information and learning, and if I have to do that as a Black person, how much more somebody who is white, how much more somebody who is not Black, not living the experience, having to unpack that, if I'm listening to a podcast once a week to unpack stuff, if you're not Black, you should probably be listening to it every day. And I just think it's hard to that for me is the part where I feel hopeless and helpless, because I'm like, man, there's so much work to be done.
So much. But piece by piece.
Right. Little by little,
we take on a bit and we deal with that bit. Then we move on to the next. So with that, you're saying educate ourselves.
Yeah.
Podcasts, reading books. Do you even have any recommendations of books at the season, or podcasts that you're listening to that have assisted you or helped you in this season?
Right. So one of the podcasts that I listen to often is called We Talk Different. I'm gonna warn you, on episodes or weeks, I should say, where George Floyd was murdered, their raw emotion is coming out. These people are Christians, but their raw emotion is coming out. So there will be 4-letter words up in there. But I will also say, I do think it's important for people to really see how this is affecting people who are rooted in their lives with Christ, right? I think that's important. But outside of that, they have I forget how many episodes at this point where they talk about a lot of other stuff too, like not just weeks when it's poignant, but they'll talk about pop culture, and in the light of what that looks like with the systems that we've created in this country and what the implications are of that system. And they have people on the podcast to talk about those things also. So the podcast We Talk Different, I definitely think about all the time. There's a book, I haven't read the book, but I want to read the book because I listened to her on an episode of a podcast. The book, I'm Still Here, Living Black Dignity in a World Made for Whiteness. It's by Austin Channing Brown, I think her name is. And it just sounds like it would be a really great read. But for me, I think one of the more important things, the 13th documentary on Netflix, there's just so many different resources. Ava DuVernay.
DuVernay, thank you.
I think it's super important that they're not just one time, let me go and check this list. I think it's more effective if people make it part of their systems. So listening to Black folks, part of your systems. So I'm intentionally looking for authors who are Black. I'm intentionally following people on social media who are Black. I'm intentionally listening to podcasts of people who have Black voices, people and women of color.
And you're saying this for everyone,
exactly,
to be a part of that, so they can understand the narrative
exactly
of other lives. So okay, for Black, but then even for us with other ethnicities, whether it's Caucasian, whether it's Spanish,
Native Americans, Asians,
yes.
I don't know anything about Native American culture. Nothing. I don't know what kind of food they eat. And I think about how much I know about Latin culture, right? We live in South Florida. I grew up with Latins, love Latin culture, lived in a Latin country for 3 years. I could tell you food, I could say words, I can, know traditions and customs because I've been so saturated, right? I empathize, sympathize with the Latin American culture, right? Asian culture, like I know what y'all be eating. Like I have Asian food on lock. But in terms of traditions,
and you actually really probably don't.
That's probably true. It's probably not authentic.
You just know what's presented over here.
So learning more about the Asian culture, Native American culture, like I said, I don't know nothing about that. So
it's really about being more well-rounded with cultures and other ethnicities.
Absolutely.
So you can relate, so you can empathize. And have an understanding of how they view life. It won't mean that you'll agree with everything. It won't mean that you'll like everything. But you'll appreciate some things. Other things you'll look at and be like, that ain't for me.
And just realizing that the way that you do life is not the only way to do life.
So important.
Absolutely.
So important. We can get so stuck in the tunnel vision of this is it. This is what it's supposed to be. This is what it's supposed to look like. And when we think about the movies that we watch, the TV shows that we watch, they lend to the American lifestyle, the American way. So it's really important to engage with documentaries. I was gonna say reality shows, but reality shows here, so but more just life experiences. So I guess it's just documentaries.
No, it's not even documentaries. I just feel like because documentaries can feel educational, right? And I'm just learning about the Black experience through how we've been wronged. But people should be learning the Black experience or any other experience, Asian experience, Native American experience, Italian experience, Latin experience, through their joy also, because that humanizes them. Because part of the problem with racism is that it's dehumanized subcultures, right? And made it seem like we only exist in one form. Right? But if you're watching us love, if you're watching us laugh, if you're watching us live, it's like, oh wait, like they got their own thing going on. I would love to learn more about that. This is how this came about.
Understand it, experience it.
Yeah, and we very much live in an echo chamber. An echo chamber is where when I call out, all I hear back is my same voice. If I'm listening to the same voices over and over again, if I never diversify my feed, if I never everything that coming back to me is just my same voice, right? I remember last summer, it was either we were in either in Spain or in Italy, I can't remember, but there was some doors in the airport that had green signs on them. In America, green means go, right? So I was about to walk straight out these doors, right? And then as I got closer, I realized nobody else was walking out these doors. And I realized what it said. It had to have been Italy because I didn't read the language really well. It was an emergency exit, but it was marked in green. I'm American. I'm thinking
it means something totally different.
Green means go. I'm shooting out this door right now, And who knows what alarm would have came up.
Ma'am, excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah. Like
follow me.
You just got here, but you gotta go. So I just think about how we're so laced for a certain thing if we only live in a certain bubble and we never expand.
Gotta expand.
Yeah, we're better humans when we do.
We are. Esther, this has been good.
Yeah, I've had fun.
So before we finish up, because we definitely engaging in other cultures and such like that. What are some, because I can hear it. So, okay, in understanding others, and that's on both sides, all sides, not even both, all sides, understanding others, engaging in the culture, getting to know, feel, understand one side of it. In this season, a lot of people are looking for action. They're looking for
absolutely.
We need to do something. So education is great. it's definitely needed before you go out and do anything.
Yeah.
Education is great, but what are some things that we can do right now? So we know people are out there protesting. Protesting is important. It's needed. Our voices need to be heard. Outside of the protesting, you know, we have these meetings happening, most of them on Zoom. A lot of Zoom meetings.
Facts.
A lot of Zoom meetings, which are great. Conversation is happening. There is robust conversation happening. People are able to, one, get out their feelings, and two, begin to strategize, begin to, let's come up with an idea, something that we can do to get out here and do something. So on your set as an educator, in your realm, in your sphere of influence, what are some steps that you're taking right now to impact the situation, whether you feel like it's small, whether it's huge, doesn't matter. What are you doing right now and maybe can encourage someone else to step out and do that they feel like that they're actually doing something?
I'm definitely educating myself. That's number one. I'm being intentional about learning things, reading things, so that I can better communicate, so that I can better effectively teach others. That's number one. Number two, I'm getting involved in my local church. So a lot.
You've always been involved in your local church,
absolutely.
By the way. Okay.
Absolutely. As a core value of mine, right? As a Christian. And but in this specific issue, once the issue hit the fan, right? And George Floyd passed away, murdered. It was heavy for the whole country. And I immediately was like, I would like my church to respond, and I would like to be a part of the response. So I asked and found my way in, so I, am trying my best to war with our body and our congregation, and what do we need in this time, So doing the journey with my local church is definitely a big thing for me, because I know there's a lot of people who feel hurt by the church, right? And I know, like, Big C Church, and I want our church to be better, right? I want our church to be a part of the solution, and that the people who are hurting in our congregation, that our church can minister to that.
Care for them.
Care for them. So definitely doing that. And then, like I said, educating myself and using my voice personally. So being more vocal about situations that have happened in my life, how they've affected me, and then how, if you are not Black, what that looks like for somebody who is Black, and just telling people about that. Because what I've noticed about me is that I'm what you call palatable, so people receive from me well, if that makes sense. There's sometimes people who are not Black and white people who they'll listen to a Black voice and they'll be like, she too loud, she too this, she too that, like, and they might not receive from them, but I find that people receive me well. So I'm trying to use that to educate.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that I'm doing, and I have come to the painful realization that it's a lifelong journey at this point.
Yes, it's not a one-time thing. It's not all gonna happen right now. There's levels to this.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then there's some things that we can do right now, and the things that we can do right now, we should do to impact
educating yourself on
everyone, our community.
Elections.
Yes. So
super important.
To that, because I know I've brought this up to you before, but I there is a few missing links for the people, for the community. Which is we don't understand certain things when it comes to government. We don't understand processes. We don't understand positions or the power of those positions. this is not something that they break down to us in school. It's
Right.
not. It is not.
Yeah. Everybody has to take government, but none of us know how the government works.
Yeah. And it's really in that class you're going through old school stuff and you're talking about specific people,
Yeah.
not what's going on now
Exactly.
and the system, the setup of the system. So I believe that this is one area, and I'm definitely going to use this platform for it, is to begin to understand the levels of government and the impact that it has. So we have areas such as, you know, local government, then we have our state government, then we have our national, is what we call it, national government, or the executive government.
Yeah.
The other
National,
piece
federal,
of it, federal, thank you.
federal.
Yeah, we'll get it together. This is what we're talking about, like serious vulnerability,
Yeah.
and just, we need to get educated. So we have these levels of government that we need to understand the roles within it. You know,
Right.
with our local government, we have commissioners, we have mayors, and we have mayors of cities, and we have mayors of counties.
Yeah.
We have our governor and those who work with the governor. What are their roles? What are they
Absolutely.
responsible for? When we're voting them in, like who are they? First of all, what do they stand for? What are their values?
What's their record been like politically?
Oh, in all areas.
Yeah.
Do they even have a reputation
Yeah.
in that arena that they're stepping into?
That thunder
Is real right now. You know what though? We gonna get through this.
Yep.
So you know, we've got the government where we have we talk about legislation. You've got the judiciary. You've got we have back to federal government and the executive section. There's all of these different things, and they're all responsible for different things. And everybody will think legislation, and it's like president. And it's like, no.
Actually, not.
No.
He's the executive branch. Legislation.
He
makes
signs
laws.
off on the
Right.
legislation, but the legislation has to be put in. It has to be talked about and voted on. So that's where the Senate and the House come into place. And we just need to understand the roles of our senators, the roles of our congressmen. What are they responsible for? What and not just responsible in the things that they do in the but what about for us? How do they serve us? What are they supposed to be doing for us? When we don't know those things, we can't hold people accountable for anything. And that's been happening for a long time, which is why certain laws and ordinances and policies and all these things have been put in place, and we're unaware. And then when things happen, personally, whether it's you get pulled over, whether it's an issue with your home, something happening with your HOA, and you're just you're having a full conniption, and they're like, well, the law says, and it's like, well, when did that happen?
Right. In such and
And
such
they-
election, when
yes.
you decided to stay home.
And here it is,
Yeah.
laid out here, paragraph section 3A, number 1, and it's like, oh, I didn't know about that because we're unaware. This system, it's so large, it's so huge. Will we know all of it? No. But this is why connections, friendships, networking is so huge, that we can be informed, that we have people that we can ask those questions to, that we can then go out and make the right decisions, to support the right people.
Absolutely.
Hold accountable the ones that we have in position right now. So those things we need to really become aware of, schooled in, that we can make a difference, because there's just some things that won't happen just from protesting. There are things that we're going to have to fight to be removed from law, removed as an ordinance, removed as a policy. And we need to know the steps of what that looks like. We can't, it's like the art of war. You want to go in and you want to just do your own thing. And it's like, wait, no, you can't just do your own thing. You have to learn the other person. You have to learn your enemy. You have to, and I don't even want to say it like their enemy, but when it comes to war, the art of war.
You gotta use tactics that are gonna work.
Yes, you need to come up with strategies and tactics, understanding what's happening with the opposition.
Yeah.
How are they putting these things together? Some things are good for us and some things are not. And then how do we stop those things that are not from coming into place? Or if it has come into place, what can we do to negated, for it to be canceled out and removed, because that can happen. Or we say amend. They will amend a thing. So we just really need to come to a place where, yes, we want to make a change, and we all do, but know that it's going to take time for some things, and it's going to take education. It's going to take commitment, consistency. Yeah. We have some great people out there speaking up and speaking loud, but the key is not to become tired, and not to allow the season to pass by and change doesn't happen. Or if not, we're going to be back here again, like the Israelites, going around the mountain until the whole generation died off and a new generation came up, and they're the ones that entered into the promise. We're supposed to enter into the promise. We are, but we have to do our part. And we have to rise up as the sons and daughters that God has called us to be, to impact the world, our spheres of influence, education, ministry, whatever it is, doctor, lawyer, whatever your sphere of influence is. It's time for us as believers to take those mountains, to take those areas and fill it with the glory of God, fill it with the power of God, the goodness of God, with the kindness, the love of God, that we can impact souls, lives. And hey, it's not going to be an easy journey. The Lord calls us to love those who hate, to love those who may speak against us. That's all right. Love them. That's how we're the difference. Is that easy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. It's not. Trust me, I know it's not. But it's what we're called to. And this is how you arise as a king. You arise as a queen. That what is required of you, you do it. What is needed of you, you make it happen. Why? Because it's not just about you. It's about your children. It's about your family. It's about your church. It's about your community. It's about your nation. Yes. And you want your nation to be the greatest nation. You want your community to be the greatest community. You want your church to be the greatest church. Your family to be the greatest family. Yeah. You to be the greatest you. But it's going to require sacrifice. It's going to require more. And we could have many excuses. There's just so many. We could have them. But we got to rise above them. And yes, it's a journey, but we can do it. Yes. So Esther.
Yes,
friend. Thank you. Thank you.
So welcome.
You are phenomenal. You're just.
I had a great time. We had a great time. I mean, it's just you've been cutting up. I'm sure we'll do it again too.
Absolutely. But thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being with us, sharing your life and how much of an impact you are in your sphere of influence, and ready now to even go wider in your sphere to touch the world and helping the world grow, become greater than who we are today, so we can impact generations to come. So
come on.
You're appreciated. Let them know your social media handles.
You can find me everywhere at Esther Brunat. Consistency. Hello?
Okay. I just went back to the relationship part, like, okay. But continue.
That's it. Esther Brunat on Twitter, Esther Brunat on Instagram, Esther Brunat on YouTube, EstherBrunat.com. Like everywhere.
Esther Brunat. Love it. Go ahead and take over the world, why don't you?
I'm trying.
By Pinky and the Brain.
Just made an LLC this week.
Yes. Come on, somebody. We'll talk about that after. Oh, good talk. Well, thank you so much for joining us. This was phenomenal. We really hope that you were encouraged today, that you were empowered today, and that you were elevated today to become who God has called you to be. Dream, 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 and dream big. Dream great and pursue it with every part of your being, knowing that all that you do will not just impact you, it won't just impact your family, but it will impact the world. So be blessed, my brothers and sisters. Rise and become the kings and queens that God has called you to be. Like, share, comment below, subscribe, And don't forget to ring the bell.
Hey.
So every time we drop a video, we'll ring you back. Be blessed, my friends. See you in the next one.